Well, thank you for joining us for Finding God in Video Games Ministry Spotlight. And we are back with Brent from TruPlay Games. And we got to sit down with you back in April of 2023 before your platform for TruPlay had launched. And a lot has happened in the world of gaming at large, as well as for TruPlay since then. You had the opportunity to launch this incredible application. And seen a lot of things happen in the industry in terms of the world of gaming development. So I just wanted to kind of start out with you're both a gamer as well as a developer of games. What do you make of all of the changes that have been happening where we've got major studios like Bungie that are getting hit with layoffs? We've got huge titles that come out like the day before in Concord that get taken down within weeks of launch because they launch unsuccessfully and millions of dollars just go nowhere.
So well, I would say that the economy in general has been tough for all but the very big tech companies. So, Facebook, Google, Apple, they live in a different world. But for the rest of us, small, medium-sized, even large to medium-sized people, it's been harder. And there's been a lot of issues for that. Inflation is real. That obviously was a combination of the Federal Reserve print and some of the costs in COVID. And that's been really hard. It's risen costs up for everybody across the board. I think there is, I think it's harder and harder to promote and raise awareness without spending money. We live in this world where, sadly, social media companies, TikTok, the Meta platforms, X, even though, they're trying to do a lot of good things, I think, on X, but they kind of consume people's attention. And so, the way you could advertise or launch a tech product 15 years ago is very, very, very different. And unfortunately, unless you were, Taylor Swift or Selena Gomez, it's harder to build your own organic audience. Sure. And so if you're running a business, so you got to kind of spend money to build it, which costs. So in other words, everywhere across the board, whether it's, people or materials or advertising, costs have risen. And, the mega corporations, Google and Facebook and Apple, they're profiting greatly, by the way. But for almost everybody else in the food chain, the expenses are higher. And I think that's largely why you're seeing a lot of what you're seeing.
Even Microsoft and Sony are impacted by this, and we're seeing a lot of the challenges for mega developers, like you said, that there's a huge amount of titles out there now. There's a massive audience. It's hard to find and have an opportunity for your curation on a lot of those things. There's titles coming. I didn't even know this was coming, and it comes from a AAA developer sometimes. So in the midst of all of this dynamic, you felt the calling of the Lord to launch TruPlay right in the midst of some very challenging headwinds, but a very, very necessary opportunity for Christian gaming to reach the mainstream. And for those of you that don't know, I'll sell it a little bit for you here. TruPlay is an app-based gaming platform. Lots of really cool things. My daughter has been playing it, enjoys it. She likes the daily participation rewards that you get just playing in and playing in. Some of her favorites. She loves Chirp Song. She loves that one so much.
Thank you.
Book of Imagination, she likes all of the coloring and things like that she gets to do with it. And we play together Maple in the Forest of Words. There's a few parts that the platforming is enough for me to say, okay, well, there's a little bit of challenge to this. And she just started Oliver and the Vindictive Vine. So
awesome.
She's a big fan of it. She's a little one. I think that it's a fantastic service. And what I really like about it is that it's very familiar game designs, right? But there's both direct and subtle Christian messaging in all of these. So it's not all Sunday school. Some of it is just a fun, fun style game with some Christian reinforcement. And I think that's fantastic. It's exactly what we would look for. So what would you say for people who are new to TruPlay? I've never heard of it before. What is the best things that you would say you should start here? What are the ones?
Yeah, here's what I'll say to people about TruPlay, and thank you so much for that kind overview about TruPlay. So TruPlay, it's one app. You download it and you get access to all the content. There's over 100 hours of content, and there's more added all the time. In fact, we just on Tuesday released our brand new game. I don't even know if your daughter's played it. It's called Lucas Mission Star Hope. So
my wife just told me about it this morning.
Spaceship exploration game. Lucas is our most popular male character. In fact, he's on my t-shirt if you're watching the video. He's a skunk. He built himself a crocodile rocket suit. He's a little bit autistic, like a lot of kids are today, and his brother died a year ago. And Lucas is not a Christian. He doesn't get it. Now, his mother is, but it doesn't make any sense to him. And his mom goes, well, he's up there in heaven with God. So Lucas goes, oh, great. I'll just get on a spaceship and go see him. No, that's not, of course, not how it works. But so this game, there's a really sweet video we made about the pre-story that you can watch in the platform. It's a beautiful animation. And then the game starts. And so the game is about that journey. And there's a friend of his whose name is Noah. He's a kangaroo who wears a shark costume. And he's a Christian. He's trying to kind of be his buddy and his big brother and help him out. So it's kind of a buddy game, companion game. It's a spaceship, shooter. So it's a lot of fun. You're going through canyons and fighting bad guys. It's a really good time. So anyway, I digress. But the point is, there's a lot of fantastic games. And these are games you can play for hours and hours and hours and hours. These are games with great stories, beautiful art. And the stories we're telling, as you were saying, some of the stories are biblical stories. So we have a game called King David's Battles, one of our very best performing game. You play King David. And for those of you, if you have a boy, let's be honest, we're not doing a good job in 2024 of raising boys to be men. We give them this false dichotomy of, well, you can be like Boy George, or you can be like Harvey Weinstein, toxic masculinity. But we're not providing models of what's a positive, strong male look like. Well, there's a lot of them in the Bible: David, Moses, Elijah, Jesus Christ, and also there's modern day examples too. But the point is, in King David's Battles, it's about David's journey, and it's a fun action game. You're sword fighting and you're battling, but you're also learning traits of how a boy becomes a man. So some of our games are biblical. A lot of our content is based on these characters you see, which are very brand new IP. Kids love it. We actually had a kid had a birthday party based on one of our characters recently, our character Maple, one of our fans. And it's this world where the Bible is true and God is real, but there's also real evil. And while the characters look kind of ridiculous, right? They're animals and animal costumes. They have real personality, just like kids today. Maple, who you mentioned, she's our most popular female character. She's very headstrong, absolutely believes in God, doesn't always pronounce her words correctly, like maybe some of your kids have. And she's impulsive, so she'll just rush ahead without considering the cost. But she's very sincere. Ava is getting bullied at school. Her parents are divorced, and her journey is about, and she's battling these bad guys. But her journey is about what people say about you is not your identity. Your identity is who God made you to be. So these are heartfelt stories where faith is woven in, and not just faith, but faith in God, teachings from the Bible, the reality of Jesus Christ. It's not faith in anything, anything random. It's very specifically the word of God, because we live in a world where kids don't get it anymore. And kids need it. The only 31% of children believe in God in this country, compared to 62% of adults. We're losing an entire generation. Why? Because they're on screens 50 hours a week. And they're getting toxic content from everywhere. And unless you take your kid to church and whatever you teach them at home, what options do you have? Sure. And that's why TruPlay is here, to serve you and your family.
No, I think it's fantastic. So it's an important bridge, because even with as much as we can be involved in our local churches, that's a matter of hours versus the days, like you mentioned, that are spent consuming content in a week at any given time. Yeah. So very important to have something that is going to provide both the fun as well as the content that has eternal messaging in it. So that brings us to your new and your old is new again journey of Jesus, that decided to bring back your most popular game, from my understanding, that had been previously released on Facebook, disappeared. You're bringing it back with with a not just re-releasing it, but actually, we're remastering the experience for the opportunity for entirely new audience to try it, as well as those that may have tried it. I think, what'd you say, about 2 million people played?
2.5 to 3 million. About 3 million people actually played it. Yeah,
which is incredible for any game, and especially a game in this particular niche, for certain. So, what made you decide that this was the time? How long have you been planning to bring back Journey of Jesus?
Yeah, a long time. So the story, for those of you who don't know Journey of Jesus, we released it in 2012 on the Facebook platform. You might remember the old days of Farmville and Cityville and those kind of games. So it was a game that felt a little bit like that, although it was more of a questing style mechanic, where you played through the gospel. Now, you didn't play Jesus, but you played a male or a female character that followed him along throughout the journey. And ultimately, it did really well. We had, again, 3 million people who played it globally. We had the core audience play for 10 years. We had, I think 60% of the audience was international. There's a lot of people loved it. And to some, it was their first exposure to the gospel. A third of our audience weren't Christians. I mean, we are very intentional. We're going to build games that are fun. We're going to build games that people love, that are beautiful, but also share the reality of God's truth. Now, Facebook deplatformed all of its games a few years later. Obviously, that fell on Journey of Jesus as well. So that was a previous company my co-founder and I had been at, called Lightside, that we had started. TruPlay is a second company, but we absorbed Lightside, and we committed as part of it to re-release our classics. So we re-released Stained Glass, which is already on the TruPlay platform. You can play it. You play through the Bible. It's a Stained Glass. It's like a match 3, like a Royal Match or a Candy Crush. You collect glass pieces. They form a stained glass window. The stained glass window comes to life. A character from the Bible comes and tells you their story from a heartfelt standpoint. Eve, Noah, Moses, Sarah. So Journey of Jesus, though, is a much bigger lift because it was built on web. The art style needs to be massively updated. There's a lot more story to tell. There's a lot more to do. So it's a big lift and a big undertaking, and we need people's help. So we launched a Kickstarter just last week to ask people to make a contribution to be part of Journey of Jesus.
That is fantastic. So you said it's part of the gospel. So what part of Jesus' life is covered?
Oh, yeah.
In Journey of Jesus? Is it birth to resurrection, or how far are we going?
Oh, yeah, great question. We start with adult ministry. So the way we did the 2012 version was we started with his baptism. We assume you know nothing. We assume no prior knowledge, because a third of our audience clearly didn't. So you just hear there's this guy that's getting baptized, and you walk up and then you see him getting baptized by John, and the Holy Spirit descends on him. And then shortly thereafter, you see him at the shores, and then you see him at the wedding, the wedding Cana. So, you collect, you go to the wedding, there's this guy who's stressed out. My reputation is going to be ruined. I'm running out of wine. My daughter's, in the middle of my daughter's wedding. And you meet a woman who goes, hey, go talk to my son. He's outside. You go talk to, again, you can figure out that it's Jesus if you're paying attention, but if you don't know who it is, it's not necessarily spelled out. And he goes, go grab these jugs. You get the jugs. Okay, now go fill them with water. You fill them with water. Then he turns the water into wine. So that was how we did it in 2012. The version we're releasing next year, we're making it a little more kid-oriented because our audience tends to be more kids. We do have adults play, as you mentioned, but we do have, we were steering for kids. So we're taking snapshots and stories of interactions with Jesus. Like, for example, the feeding the 5,000, but putting it from a kid's perspective. And there's participatory things that kids do. So again, we don't just build like Sunday school lessons. There's nothing wrong with that, but we are competing with Minecraft and Roblox. We are not selling you something that's going to taste like Robitussin to your child. Hey, you need to drink this. I don't want to drink Robitussin. Yeah, but it'll help your cough. That's not what we do. We provide your family chocolate cake stuffed with vitamins and protein and calcium that's healthier than the breakfast cereal you're going to give your little Jimmy. And it's borne out to be true. If you give a kid Roblox or Minecraft, or you give a kid TruPlay, they're twice as many kids will come back in a week to TruPlay, twice as many kids will come back in a month. That's statistically true. We have our data, and we know what theirs is from some data that we've purchased. So people really love it. We hear testimonials from moms and kids all the time. And so the Journey of Jesus game is built to be fun and engaging and exciting, and the kids have an active participatory role, and they're experiencing what Jesus is doing and learning more through the experience. But when I say learning, it's like, for you and I, we're Star Wars fans, right? So I can tell you that, old Star Wars. I'm not adopting the last 5 years, but the point is, I can tell you Jango Fett was the father of Boba Fett, and Boba was a clone, and they were on Camino, and da-da-da-da-da. Not because I took a test, but because I just loved the content and I absorbed it. So that's the way we teach the gospel and the Bible to people. And frankly, if you look at what Jesus did, a lot of what he was doing was telling people stories.
Absolutely. I think that when you think of the parables and such, Jesus was clearly demonstrating a concept of what media looked like and letting us know this is what its purpose for. People love to hear stories, and they love to hear stories that are relatable. And when we can participate in the story or feel like we're a participant in it, so much the better. And the learnings actually come from that. So I think that's what I think is best about TruPlay personally, is that it's not like, here, memorize these verses. It's right. Play this story, and as you go through it, you'll learn things because you didn't intend to. They just kind of pop up that way. So Journey of Jesus, you said next year is the
2025,
end
yeah.
release for that. The Kickstarter is running now, at least if you're listening to this in the next several weeks. The Kickstarter is running right now. So just as we wrap up, first of all, just really appreciate the chance to sit down with you. So just give us a little bit about, for people who are either interested, but maybe they don't have little ones, so the trip themselves isn't necessarily as compelling for them. But what would you say for those that want to support the idea of Christian gaming? Maybe, downloading the app. If you have little ones, I highly recommend it. But if that's not your cup of tea, but you want to make sure everyone gets to drink the tea, what can we do to help?
Yeah, here's what I would say, and I appreciate that. Go to TruPlayGames.com, TRUPLAY games.com. We're on all the big socials as well. Look, at TruPlay, we are professionals who've built games that you've probably played, and built software products you've probably used, and maybe even written books you've bought. It's a world-class team, but most of us are parents, and all of us care about kids just like you do. And we're concerned about our kids' mental health and their future and their souls. And no one else in this country at scale. Now, churches are doing a great job, but I mean, who can you trust? Disney, the Boy Scouts, the Board of Education? Who's looking out for your child's soul and the big picture in the long run? So we're saying, look, we're standing up, and we need everybody's support to join this movement. What can that look like? You can buy a subscription. You can buy a gift subscription. Please spread the word. We need everybody to start spreading the word that this exists, because when people find it, they're like, wow, this is amazing. And we've been endorsed by the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, Promise Keepers, Kim Walker-Smith. I could go on, Dave Ramsey's group. I could go on and on. Just phenomenal people have endorsed us, but we need more and more and more people to spread the word. And you can make a contribution on Kickstarter if you're able to. And for those of you, high net worth, if you happen to be listening, we even have people who come in and invest, millions of dollars to do this kind of stuff. It costs a lot of money to go compete with all the negative stuff that's out there that's really fun to do. It's like, all the Minecraft and Roblox and Fortnite stuff, they have billions of dollars. Well, we don't need billions, but we need, but millions is what it requires to build world-class content and pay world-class people. So, any way that anybody can contribute, we'd love you to continue to join us on the mission.
It's such a worthy cause. I love the idea of giving gift subscriptions. So if it's not for you, but you want to make sure that somebody's kid out there has an opportunity to enjoy this content, it's an incredible application with a very minimal monthly cost compared to what we pay for so many other platforms in our homes. So definitely appreciate Brent from TruPlay joining us on this ministry spotlight. Please make sure you give them a follow. If the Lord compels you, support the Kickstarter, or look at other opportunities for joining getting this out there to more kids and supporting our most vulnerable with the most essential information at a time when it honestly could not be more necessary. So Brent, thank you so much for joining us on Finding God in Video Games.
Thank you.
And we hope to check in with you again next year when Journey of Jesus launches, and looking forward to seeing what that looks like too.
Look forward to that conversation with you. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for your ministry and all the great work you guys are doing, by the way.